Joe Torre, the Hall of Famer, MLB special assistant to the commissioner, and won 4 World Series titles. Was the Yankees with the Yankees, and he was there that night. And Joe joins us now. Joe, thanks for joining us. What do you think about when you think about that night?
Uh, just horrible. I mean, I got numb. And it's still when I think back, and you're never going to forget. You never want to forget. But you really, there were a couple of different emotions. I mean, you were scared, you were mad, and just 9/11 was such a tough day. I didn't even have the TV on because I was scheduled to do a charity luncheon that day, and I was just getting myself ready in my bedroom, and car service called me and said, "Well, I guess it's canceled." I said, "What are you talking about?" And then turned on the TV and saw what was happening like everybody else. And really baseball went on the back burner for me, to be honest with you, Dan, because what was happening right then was just something that never thought you'd ever see.
And then when baseball came back, what were your emotions?
Well, you had some time to think about it, and I'll tell you what really moved me off the fact that all we do is play a game was on the Saturday after 9/11. We were in New York. We hadn't started baseball yet as far as games, and it was decided that we were going to get it cranked up again on Monday. So we were going to be on the road. So Saturday, I had a workout for whoever was left in New York, because a lot of my players got in the car and drove home. I know Pettit and Clemens drove back to Texas together, and so we were going to have a workout at Yankee Stadium on that Saturday, and then afterwards, we had a good number of players and some coaches. We got in vans and went to Ground Zero. We started out actually at the Javits Center, where it was the staging area where all those first responders and firefighters from all over the country were, basically living. They were sleeping there and eating there, and just taking their turns going back to the towers to see if they could rescue. And then you realize over time it was just going to be a recovery. And then we went from the Javits Center, we went to St. Francis Hospital with hopes of, that we could visit some victims, but there were no victims there. The only ones that were there were, again, firefighters who had smoke inhalations issues. And from St. Francis, we went to the Armory. Now, I was a little hesitant. I was a little sensitive about going in the Armory, because this is where the family members were waiting to get DNA results from their loved ones. And so we finally realized that we should go in. We did go in. Those people were separated. At the floor of the Armory was completely filled, and it had like low partitions separating the families and groups of people. Counselors and clergymen were there, and this one family, we were walking around the perimeter, and this one family sort of signaled us to come on over, and we walked over toward this family, and Bernie Williams said to this woman, he says, "I don't know what to say to you," he says, "but you look like you need a hug." And with that, he grabbed her and hugged her, and it sort of loosened up everybody else. They started coming toward us and bringing pictures. This is what was so powerful to me, Dan, was they were bringing pictures of their loved ones wearing Yankee, jerseys and caps and jackets, and saying what a big fan he was or she was. And And it was at that point that I realized that, even though all we did was play a game, it was a game that people really needed to have at that point in time as to sort of get in the way of the horror they've been going through.
And at the time, I don't know if you feel like you're helping, but you're also intruding at the same time.
Dan, there was no question. That was the hesitancy I had, that we were intruding on their private, serious time and sad time. And really, that's when, someone had gone in, Randy Levine, who was our president, ran in and he waved us in about 5 minutes later. And they wanted us in there because I can't tell you how long we spent there, but we spent a good deal of time. And people were looking for, and distraction, I don't think is a strong enough word, but they wanted somebody to get in the way of what they were dealing with.
What was that moment like when President Bush went out there and threw the first pitch?
Well, we had just lost the first two games in Arizona to the Diamondbacks. So this is our first game at home. And, it's interesting. You always have a meeting because there was a curiosity whether he was going to be there or not. They never definitively said he was coming, which you can understand. But both managers and general managers always go in the umpires room about an hour or so before the game to have a meeting with the umpires just to go over the local ground rules and stuff. Now we had this meeting in Arizona, but this is the first game in New York. And you go around and, you shake everybody's hand, you shake all the umpires' hands, and all of a sudden there was an umpire you didn't recognize. And you realized it was a Secret Service man.
In an umpire's uniform.
In an umpire's uniform. And when President Bush threw the first pitch, he was standing around home plate with all the other umpires. And but when President Bush came through the runway, into the dugout, I met him at the mouth of the runway, and he said to me, he says, "You're going to kick their butts?" I said, "We're going to try." And with that, he just crisply went up the steps and out to the mound, waved to the fans, and had a very determined look of going right to the top of the mound, which you come to find out later on that Derek Jeter sort of dared him because he was telling him all the bad things that New York fans will do to you if you don't get on top of the mound. So, and by the way, President Bush, you better not bounce it. So wow. All that, and I was at an event with the former president a couple of years ago, and he was telling that story to the people he was speaking to. It was really funny that Derek basically threatened him, but he went out there, and I'll be darned if he doesn't throw a strike right there.
And here's Jeter adding levity to a serious moment because, I was told that the president may have had, a vest on, a bulletproof vest on. Is that right?
He did have that. And Derek warmed up with him in the batting cage underneath the stands. And, because that's the one thing he didn't want to do is bounce it. He wanted to show strength, and he felt that was a part of it. And of course, Derek, he's got that sort of dry sense of humor because of, everybody should be as comfortable in their skin as Derek Jeter. And he, and as I say, the president, obviously took it the way Derek meant it. And, he was pumped. I mean, he felt, again, that he needed to show strength, and he went out there and certainly answered the bell.
Coming up tomorrow, it'll be at Citi Field where Bobby Valentine will throw out the ceremonial first pitch with you. Are you going to the top of the mound, though, Joe?
No, well, I hope not. And if Bobby Valentine is going to the top of the mound, you could that may be the first fight we have tomorrow night, because I'm, my heart would be in the right place, but I'm not sure the ball would be in the right place. So we're probably going to cut it in half.
Did you ever yell at Jeter?
that I did yell at Jeter, but
For
you know,
what?
well, there was a play that well, spring training, actually his first spring, where he didn't cover second base. He likes to tell the story where he didn't cover second base on a play. It would have been the third out of an inning, and he assumed they were going to throw it to first, and he didn't cover second, and he come in and got on deck and stuff, and I just told him to get his head out of what, and get with it. And I even forgot that whole thing. He had to remind me. But there was a time also in Chicago where he tried to steal third base with Cecil Fielder hitting, and we were 1 run behind and 2 out in the 8th inning. And I threw some stuff in the dugout, which thank goodness nobody videoed. But and when he came in, I remember saying to Don Zimmer, I said, I won't talk to him, because this was his rookie year. I said, I'm not going to talk to him until tomorrow. I just don't want to distract him. We're trying to win a game. And with that, after the half inning was over, he came into the dugout and he wedged himself right between Zimmer and myself. He just come over to take his lumps. That was it. So I hit him in the back of the head. I said, get out of here, because that told me he knew that he screwed up. But he was a gamer. He came to work every day, and he knew that he was just one of the guys, and really earned a lot of respect from the veterans that first year, which is very surprising for a young player.
How's the arm? I mean, you played third base and you were a catcher. How's the hose? Can you still get it there?
Well, I had rotator cuff surgery since then, which should make it better. But I may be able to throw it, Dan, but I'm not sure exactly what direction it will go.
Didn't you once? What was the batting average? 363.
363, yes.
And you weren't exactly, fast.
No, I didn't get many of those hits. Right. It was a magical year. Don't ask me, but it was a special time. And
363, though. I mean,
yeah, I had 230 hits. It was crazy.
I also have you for 23 stolen bases in 18 seasons.
Not bad. I tried to steal once in every part of the country. This way it would be a shock. I remember Tom Seaver. Tom Seaver was on the mound one night, and I'm going, and the only time I would try to steal was like if it was 2 strikes on the hitter, or stuff like that, where he'd get a free count next inning. And Tom Seaver would always come to a set position and look over to first base, and then would pitch. So he did that, and he looked over to first base. And when he went back to, look toward home, I took off, and then he looked back over there, and he still threw home, figuring I'm not going to make it anyway. So, I 23 stolen bases. That may have been inflated. Let's see what happens.
Thanks again for reminiscing, and have fun with Bobby Valentine tomorrow and this weekend, Joe. It's always great to talk to you.
Thanks, Dan. Same here.
That's Joe Torre, Hall of Famer and Major League Baseball special assistant to the commissioner. It'll be the Yankees and Mets at Citi Field tomorrow night. Bobby Valentine, who was the Mets manager back, following 9/11, and Joe Torre, the ceremonial first pitches.